sometimes there's a great budget phone that releases, and there's one that just released that is quite surprising on how amazing of a phone it is, especially in the budget category. And that is the Nothing Phone 2A. So what all does it provide that makes it such a good, compelling phone? Well, for starters, of course, the price. At $350, that's a great price for what you get. You get a MediaTek processor with 8 gig or 12 gig of RAM, 256 gig of space or 512, a screen that has 120 hertz refresh rate, pretty decent cameras, and Nothing's OS on top of Android 14. Really shines on how sleek, but also how clean and how well the performance is with almost stock Android. One you wouldn't think about, but these centered mounted cameras, unlike most of our other cameras today that have a wobble to them because of how large the camera hump is, you don't get this with this phone because the lenses are mounted in the center of the device, so when it lays flat on a table, it still doesn't wobble. Another key standout that's been actually a thing with all Nothing phones is symmetrical bezels. And basically what that is they've focused a lot on not making the bezels larger at the top or the bottom of the phone, or of course even the sides. So when you look at it, you get a really fresh experience on looking at the phone that just feels more complete, because everything on the front of the display, or what you're mainly looking at all the time, is in this symmetrical look, because all sides of the bezels are the same width. But you may ask, where does the camera for the front get put? Well, it's just a hole punch cutout like all our standard smartphones today, at a 32 megapixel front-facing camera. Does take good selfies. And since we're talking about cameras, we might as well mention the rear-facing camera. Main primary sensor at 50 megapixels and a wide-angle sensor at 50 megapixels. And if you're in good natural lighting, these can actually perform good photos. Now, some places I see it start to fall short is low light, or just, of course, if you wanted a telephoto solution as well, you don't get that out of this. It's fully digital at that point because there's no sensor for zooming on this phone. It would all be digital at that point. But overall, for a quick point to shoot, and with a phone that has a quick shutter speed to it, multiple ways to open the camera, either by double pressing the power button, or you can even change from the lock screen. Very rapid response to get the camera open and get that target or subject that you were trying to reach. Now, the area where I typically see this fall short on the camera more than even low light would be if there's a moving subject. I guess just because of the lens that was used on these, it doesn't have as great of a time taking like action shots, or pets moving, or little kids you're trying to take in photos. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying to get good photos, you may have to take a couple extra with this phone to get the photo you want. But when you do get that photo, it's still a great picture. Of course, one of the standout features with any Nothing phone is what they call the glyph system, which are lights on the back of the phone that can be used to notify you visually with different blinking lights of notifications. You can have different light combinations for phone calls, to priority notifications, to even countdown timers. And this system is pretty unique in phones. Is it a feature that is a must-have that completely revolutionizes the way you use your phone? No, but it is a cool feature. I probably don't use it to my fullest capabilities. I'm not a person that typically puts my phone face down on a desk or something. If you are, this is a great system because you get a lot of extra flexibility from the back of the phone, unlike most traditional phones. So it really depends on the person, but it's cool to have, and it makes interesting sounds as well that you can sync up with the lights. And there's even a glyph system customization option in there to make your own ringtone and light combination. So Nothing's done a great job on the glyph system as well, which of course phones are mainly popular for because of the backs and the lights. One of the other small disadvantages of this Nothing phone compared to its bigger brothers is the reduction on the amount of LEDs on the back. It is just around this top section of the camera. You may have seen in pictures, and you probably can even see in some of my B-roll, there's this coil that looks like it might be something of lights. It's not. It's the design of the phone. But of the two colors you get a black and a white. I prefer the white option just because that's kind of Nothing's de facto color is white. So I prefer the white gloss. I would even say it has a little bit to it. And you can just kind of tell some of the intricate fine parts of the back of the phone just a little bit more on the design on the white than you can the black. But some of Nothing's other core features are its OS or skin on top of stock Android. And that's really a big part that makes this phone shine is, you know, with a MediaTek processor, sometimes MediaTek processors get a bad rap. This one has a good processor in it, but the core thing that drives this system being so smooth is basically Nothing is using stock Android with just a few customization options above Android, from the quick panels being a little bit different to the overall aesthetics of the phone being in black and white, and then primarily the widgets that Nothing has made. This is definitely, I would say, the only company that has made as many widgets that you can do with the phone, from compass to a walking tracker to timers, calendars, etc. There's a lot of widgets that you should definitely go through if you get this phone, because you can literally make a widget themed page or your home page. And of course we can't exclude battery. The battery in this is surprisingly good. It's a 5,000 milliamp battery and charges pretty good at 30 watts. I believe there is an option for 45 watts, but of course you would need a 45 watt charger certified with a cable as well to get that maximum charging rate. But at 35 watts, it's still pretty good as well for charging. The only negative part to charging is this phone doesn't have any type of wireless charging. And that's a surprising point as well for this phone, because I would have expected how Nothing came out of the gate with their first two phones to continue using wireless charging. Surprised to see a more cost-effective phones being released from Nothing that still included wireless charging. So that will be something interesting to tell over time when Nothing releases more devices. Do these A models, kind of like the Pixel A models, will they not have wireless charging, but the premium ones will? Hopefully that's the case and not a reduction in wireless charging altogether like OnePlus has been known for. This phone is a full plastic build from the side rails to the back, so just keep that in mind. You know, personal preference, I don't mind plastic phones, especially the weight. It definitely reduces the weight compared to any phones that may have an aluminum frame or a glass back on them, etc. That definitely adds weight to those phones. Does add a premium feel, but it also adds more weight to the phone. So To me, I think it's a little bit of a refreshing take to have a plastic phone again. At one point, we had a lot of plastic phones in the smartphone world, but then we have shifted to glass backs and aluminum frames, which make the phone quite a bit heavier, but durable as well. So to conclude, you're really not missing out on anything with this phone. You get a high refresh rate on the screen to make the phone even feel speedier than it is. You get a pretty good processor with a good amount of RAM even. So this phone will be able to stay with you for up to 4 years of security updates as well, or OS updates. So there's a pretty good longevity that you will have with this phone. And because of the price, it's a no-brainer to get. This is a very good cost compelling range to be in now. And there still isn't a lot of phones that hit this mark with this high quality or premium of a feel of a phone. If you are looking for something in this budget range, you definitely can't go wrong. The only other one I would recommend in this price range would be the Pixel 7a. But the Pixel 7a is higher priced than even this. Sometimes you can get it on sale for around the same price, but MSRP does put the Pixel at a higher price than the Nothing Phone 2a. But you do get some distinct advantages with the Pixel. Of course, those improved cameras and some Google Drop features that Google is now releasing on their Pixel model line of phones to only the Pixel phones. So you may need to consider which one of those two devices you want to get, depending on what feature or software feature you may even want to really use that one or the other doesn't have. But overall, the Nothing Phone 2a is a great budget phone that you should definitely be looking at. So, if you have any questions about this device, leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.